Before we begin, I want to quickly remind you that customers should base their purchasing decisions on products and services that are currently available.
Hello everyone, I am Akash and I am an aspiring Salesforce developer. I am a little overwhelmed with Salesforce development and I want to understand the different phases of building an application. I also want to know what a Salesforce developer needs to be aware of before working on a project. Today, I am joined by Satya, who will answer all my questions. Hi Satya.
Hello Akash, hello everyone and welcome.
I hear a lot from people talking about application lifecycle. What does that mean? I also remember reading about it during my college days. And I'm a little overwhelmed with the terms like waterfall model, agile, etc. etc. What are these? And how are they related to application development?
Wow, it's a lot of questions. Let me answer one at a time. Let me start with the application development lifecycle, which is sometimes also referred to as system development lifecycle or software development lifecycle. Software development lifecycle is a process of building your software. It contains various phases like requirement analysis, system design, implementation, testing, deployment, and maintenance. I said SDLC is a process or collection of well-defined phases of building the application. This process can be executed using various models or methodologies like waterfall, spiral, agile, etc. Let's first see how it is implemented using a waterfall model. The software requirements are gathered and finalized during this phase. Requirements are analyzed to see if it is technically possible to implement, if it is financially feasible, etc. Once the requirements analysis is completed, the application enters the design phase. After design, it enters implementation phase. You can also call this as coding phase. Then we test the application and finally we deploy. After which it enters into the maintenance phase, where the software will be maintained in future. One important point to note about this model is that each phase is started only after the earlier phase is completed. That means we cannot go back to requirements analysis once design is started. You can see that it is like waterfall and the water can only flow down and cannot flow up.
Then Satya, what is agile and how is it different from waterfall model?
While waterfall is a more traditional approach, agile was popularized in 2001. It evolved to solve pain points from other conventional development models. It is based on four fundamental values. 1. Individuals and interactions are more important than any processes or tools. That doesn't mean that processes and tools are avoided, but collaboration across all the members working on the projects is more important. The business analysts, developers, testers, managers all interact with each other while working on the project. 2. If you build a prototype, it is easy to understand than writing a lot of documentation, right? And it also helps all the stakeholders to provide early feedback. 3. Rather than just following the contract and implementing it, it is always better to invite the customers regularly to your meetings so that they can provide the feedback. And fourth value is all about any changes that are requested as part of the feedback should be adaptable rather than blindly sticking to your original plan and keep going. Is it a little confusing? Okay, let me ask you a question, Akash. Assume you are buying a house which is under construction. You have given a plan for the kitchen and the builder completed it. And then you have given a plan for a master bedroom and the builder has completed it. Now you change your mind a little bit about the kitchen and wanted a dedicated cabinet for dining set. The builder says, nope, it is not possible as the kitchen is already completed. What is your feeling?
Obviously, I will be frustrated.
Now, instead if the builder says, no problem, we can change it, what is your feeling now?
I will be super happy.
That is the difference between the traditional approach and agile. As you can see in this slide, in the traditional approach, the requirements are assumed to be final and will not change, and all the phases will be completed in the exact same order. On the other hand, Agile has built-in feedback loops that provide close collaboration across the teams and the customer. In this model, you can plan, you can create a version of the product. All the project members can review that version. and then you release. After that, take the feedback from the customer and again repeat the cycle for a new version. Isn't that cool? One more important point to note is Agile is a practice and it can include various methodologies like Scrum, Lean software development, extreme programming, etc. These methodologies were existing even before Agile became popular and now part of Agile practice.
Are there any documents that we use during the development process?
There are a few. I will talk about at least three important documents here, Akash. The requirement specification document contains the requirements that will be implemented in the project. The development tasks in Agile methodologies are expressed as a user story. A user story is a simple way of expressing the software requirements in the end user perspective. The implementation progress can also be tracked by the project management tools like Jira. For instance, tickets can be created for the user stories and assigned to various team members who can work on those tickets. The technical specification document is generally written by the developer and it acts like a configuration guide, I would say. Release notes contains a list of features delivered during a release and related documentation.
I have a question related to coding. If two or more developers are working on the same module, how can they share the code with each other? Or how can they avoid overwriting each other's code?
This is an important question, Akash. We have a solution for this and it is called version control system. You can store all the code in one place which is highly protected, and this central place is called source repository. All the developers in the project can write the code and save it to the repository. If two developers make changes to the same code and try to check in, it throws an error and you can resolve it by checking which code is correct. This way you can avoid overwriting each other's changes. One example of such version control system is JIT. You'll learn more about JIT in one of the modules as you go forward in your journey.
So what do we do in testing phase?
Akash, testing is one of the most important phases in software development. During testing, you'll be verifying whether the product is working as expected. There are different levels of testing: unit testing, integration testing, system testing, acceptance testing. Unit tests are used to test individual units of the code. Unit tests are generally written by the developers. Integration tests are used to test the interaction between modules of an application. System testing is used to test the functionality of the complete application. Acceptance testing is done to make sure that the application is ready for use. User acceptance testing is done by the client.
And what do we do in deployment phase?
The deployment phase is all about installing your software in an environment. Once the development is completed and the application is ready for testing, you can deploy your application in the testing environment, where the QA team can test the application. The application might be deployed in one or more environments before your actual release to the actual users. For example, once the testing is completed, you can deploy the application to the user acceptance test environment, where the customer does the final testing of your application. Finally, you can release your application by deploying it to the production environment where actual users will be using the application.
Thank you, Satya, for answering all my questions. I hope this will be helpful to everyone who is watching this video. And thank you everyone for watching this video.
Thank you everyone.